Good morning, everybody. Mike and Corey are here today for the morning show, actually almost noon. So exciting to follow the markets and what's happening with Bitcoin and all the rest. We're starting to get a lot of questions on that, which is exciting. Today, we're going to talk about the less exciting but very important inflation measure that came out today. Probably people are blowing right by it. Going to talk about Spirit Airlines. Definitely not in our models, but I'll at least mention where they're at. And Corey's going to talk about IPOs, which we haven't heard much on IPOs lately. It hasn't been that exciting, but when the markets start to take off, you'll get some more IPOs, and we'll discuss many more. But
Hey,
before we
Mike.
get, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go do the disclaimer. Sorry, I
I'll
didn't
do
mean to.
our disclaimer. Yeah, this is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence on anything you hear. More disclaimer information can be found on ankerstarwealth.com, and the opinions expressed are mine and Corey's alone. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, Mike, in your opinion, right?
Okay.
Have you been enjoying this hot market that we've been watching the
Yes.
last few days?
Oh, the last whatever 8 days have just been
Yeah,
green, green, and green.
I
Got my
know.
green shirt on. Um,
There's a
it,
problem though, Mike. I
what's
think it's getting hot. It almost started overheating. My check engine light popped on the way to work this morning, literally. So I had to do a little detour to go get that investigated. And yeah, I mean it's just everything is running hot these days, I guess.
Well, there you go. You must be driving too fast there, Corey. Blowing through the speed limits. No,
No,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
I'm a speed limit guy. I'm a speed limit guy.
He's a rule follower. Well, let me get started because I'm going to cover inflation. I'm going to dig in just a little bit into it. Sometimes we just blow by it, especially when it says inflation rate hit 2.6% and that met expectations. That's what everybody thought it was. That's another reason why the market continues to do well. I mean, today I think it's pretty much flat. I'll say flat except for Bitcoin's up again. Um, if this number had come in high, the market would have sold off some, but it's coming in as expected. But I want to dig in just a little bit because a lot of times inflation, people like prices aren't going back down, they're not back where they were 5 years ago, and unfortunately they never will be, are very, very unlikely because that would be deflation. But when they look at overall inflation, it's just that gradual target to go up by about 2%. And some people will ask, why? Why would we want inflation at all? Well, part of the reason is you can manage inflation. There's ways to manage inflation with monetary policy, but when you get in deflation, there's not a good way to manage it. And Japan ran into that for several years. And so therefore our government or the Fed does not really want deflation. So, you may say, well, I don't like that. It lowers the value of my money. Things cost more. Yes. But what we want is a very, very low inflation rate. So when you look at year over year, it said in energy is down 4.9%. So think gas costs, things like that. Food is up 2%. That's not that bad. Some other ones are interesting. Used vehicles up 2.7% on the month. So you might start seeing the feed of people buying some vehicles now that we got clarity from the election. Uh, Good news, auto insurance declined by 0.1%. And if you remember, auto insurance has been up like 20% year over year. It's still up 14% for the 12-month period. So still up way higher than overall. And, it's interesting to see some like the price of eggs is up 30% from a year ago. I don't know. Maybe the chickens went on strike, or I don't know, and affected the supply chain. I'm not sure. I guess I don't buy enough eggs to really experience that, to be like, oh my gosh, it's up 20 cents a dozen or something like that. So it's just interesting when we see, and if you look at this graph, which shows the month over month percent increase, you can see that the last 6 months, you know, very, last 4 months have all been 0.2%, but the prior two were even flat. So you can see that inflation looks to be under control. The one that's still kind of residually high besides auto insurance is the price of housing, which if the 10-year bond rate stays high like it has so far, and the interest 30-year mortgage rate doesn't come down, the price of houses are likely to mitigate some. So, that's inflation. And I just thought I'd kind of hit on that.
Mike,
Even,
just to
yeah, go ahead.
highlight, just to highlight why we want that really modest inflation. Some people are like, you know what? Well, I wish it would just stay the same. But we really want a tiny bit of inflation because it provides just a tiny bit, an incentive on consumers to buy now. Don't
Correct.
delay, just continue buying now because, hey, if you wait, you might not get this price in the future. There's been some countries struggle with deflation, and deflation has the opposite effect, and it can create a cascading negative effect where people think they are incentivized to delay purchasing. Well, if things are getting cheaper and people think, well, I'll wait, it'll just get cheaper again. Then what are the retailers and things have to do? They have to lower prices even more to try to incentivize buying. So it creates this like cascading slowdown of economic activity. So just a tiny bit of inflation, that's kind of the Goldilocks.
Yep, exactly. And hey, we're coming up, the one time I think that we do wait to buy a little bit is Black Friday. So,
Oh,
as I drove to a Walmart this morning and I saw they have spots out for Black Friday parking and pickup already. That's
whoa.
the one. That's the one time I think to myself, like if I was going to go out and buy an iPad or AirPods or whatever, it's like, ooh, I bet you there's going to be a sale in the next 2 weeks. We'll see. Maybe we'll cover the Mike and Steve and Corey Black Friday sales specials. I don't know. Maybe not. But
Mike, I
they'll.
think we got a TV like a couple years ago, November 10th or 15th, and they have this 30-day price match thing. So we
Ah.
bought it before Black Friday, went back like that weekend, saw that they had lowered the price, and they refunded us a few $100s. So hey, you might be able to front run Black Friday.
There you go. And if you would have taken all that money that you had invested in your TV and you'd put it into Spirit Airlines stock, you would have probably not much. So that's that's the company I want to cover today, just because they're in the news. The stock is off 55%. I didn't go through our book to see if anybody actually owns this, but it's certainly not in our models. In fact, we've always been kind of against putting any money in airline stocks because there's so many airlines out there and they are competing generally on price. Spirit, which has been one of the least expensive airlines. I've flown it, at least 3 or 4 times. Bare bones, very low cost tickets. When I fly Spirit, I'll be honest, the flights are really packed. It's kind of amazing to me, but it's because the prices are so inexpensive. However, they had they thought they were going to merge with Frontier, which Frontier is another similar airline. And that all it fell through. I think Frontier declined, but they've had times when JetBlue tried to merge and it gets declined by the government. So anyways, the article shows that Spirit moves towards bankruptcy filing. And what that'll do is it'll wipe out any equity, and then they'll try to cut some deals with the bondholders to stay in business. Now, I will say, and I booked a ticket. I booked tickets like about a month ago, and Spirit was one of my choices. And I knew this was happening, and I've lost confidence in Spirit Airlines that they might shut down. I don't want to be stuck having to buy another ticket. So I said, not buying Spirit. And other people may start to make those kind of decisions. However, I will tell you, probably 15 years ago, there was another airline, can't remember what it was, but I bought tickets on it. They were inexpensive, and they went bankrupt and shut down operations. I'd already bought tickets. So here's what I'm going to tell any of our listeners. I called my credit card company and said, hey, this company went bankrupt. It was on a Saturday morning that this all happened. And the credit card company's like, no worries, we got you. And by Monday morning, my money was added back to my credit card company, and the credit card, puts together an overall claim against that company. So if you buy something like Spirit airline tickets and they go bankrupt and cease operations, call your credit card company. That's the advantage of using a credit card to do that. So I just wanted to kind of state that, just an experience. Anything to add? Spirit, you ever flown Spirit, Corey?
Nope, hadn't been on a plane since before my first child was born. So I'm running on 6 years of.
You haven't been on a plane in 6 years?
No,
Oh
we
my
kind of, well,
gosh.
we had the baby, and then we had the COVID, and then we had another baby, and it just sort of, we just didn't travel much.
Well, we won't go into bringing babies on planes because that's not always very much fun. But
That was what kept us
no wonder your check engine light's on. You're driving too much. But
racking up miles. You're right.
okay, well I'll turn it over to you and you can cover the IPO market here.
Yeah. So just a little bit of news coming across this morning. Saw that a company, Klarna, is planning to IPO soon, and about a $15 billion valuation. And while this is a buy now, pay later, I don't know about you, Mike. I'm kind of a buy now and cry now and pay now kind of guy, but this is buy now, pay later, so maybe that's smarter. But I don't really care to talk too much about Klarna. Just want to mention that we're expecting and anticipating that in 2025, you will see more IPO activity, more merger and acquisition activity. Things are good right now, and that incentivizes, capital markets being so flush and strong. We see rich valuations across many different sectors and companies. So that incentivizes these private companies to go public now to try to raise that money with hopefully an elevated valuation. That's what they would like. And then also that incentivizes companies to, they feel a little bit of FOMO too. So if you've seen anybody out there like, oh, I missed this, I missed that. Well, there's companies out there thinking the same thing, and they're going to go buy other companies, maybe at extra high valuations, because they're feeling it too. They want to merge and acquire while they can. So, that's just something to look for in 2025.
Yeah, and part of when companies merge, they become more efficient, can streamline their distribution channels. And guess what? You don't need two CEOs, you don't need two COOs. You're able to create like one line from the executive level, which saves dollars. That's why, it seems like there are a lot of mergers, and certainly in good financial times. In tougher financial times, you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to take on that risk or
Right.
possible debt, things like that. So,
Right.
I certainly expect we're going to see, more mergers going forward. And sometimes I don't understand why the government blocks certain mergers. Like when they blocked, and I don't remember who was buying who in the airline. It was JetBlue or Spirit or somebody, and the government blocked it. And I thought, that company's going to go bankrupt. They shouldn't
Yeah.
have blocked it. They should have let them be acquired. Now they're going to just go bankrupt. And we're seeing
Right.
that, so, it's an interesting business. I try to stay away from those companies like that. It's dangerous. Somebody's buying Spirit Airlines today at 55% off because they execute a transaction. And of course they're just hoping for a quick return, but it's like you're gambling when you're playing on stocks that are down 57% right now. So, but somebody's buying them.
Not
Well,
us.
not us, definitely not. So, anyways, thanks everybody. Continue to follow the markets, and we'll watch inflation. We're going to watch certainly the policies that come out in 2025 with the new administration, and manage your dollars. So, thanks everybody. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.